Hi, my name is Marina Sokolovskaya. I'm here with Deron Smallcomb. He is the owner of the Modern Law Group. We will discuss the immigration today as usual. So let's start. Let's begin. Hi, Deron.
Hey, Marina, how you doing today?
Thank you for coming.
A pleasure to be here. Always love being in New York. We do have several offices throughout the country, but this is one of our first offices. We've been in this same exact office since 2017. Since 2009, Modern Law Group has provided immigration services to the public. My personal journey started in 2006 with my now wife, and ultimately I started doing this professionally. And I've been doing so now for the last 16 years, which is really great. There's several attorneys within the firm, 25 paralegals, and together what we're trying to do is provide the best services to pursue legal pathways to immigration in the United States. Not only do we provide, obviously, professional services, but we also try to provide public services, which is we have multiple YouTube channels, of which Marina is quite the star on several of them. And we try to, on really a daily basis for the most part, come out with new content about changes in the immigration system. And I feel that's very important. It's part of our giving back to the community, especially in times right now where there's a lot of uncertainty around immigration. Every single day, something new's coming out that changes the landscape, and people want to know. When we come into the office some days, we know when a memo has been released overnight because we'll have 50 messages with people asking the same questions. And so we try to put that information out there so we can answer it once. And for most times, it's to kind of temper people's fears about what's going on, because there's a lot coming at us right now in immigration, but things haven't substantially changed. They remain the same over the years for people that are pursuing their legal pathways, and we try to keep people on that road and focused on where they're going. Since Trump came into office, the border has been effectively closed. So people cannot really go to the border anymore to claim asylum, to be paroled into the United States. That's a huge change from the way things have been done the last 4 years. And so while that part is shut down a little bit, the difference is that people that are already in the United States are now much more inspired to pursue their legal pathways. Now it's really obvious that you have to pursue something legally or things aren't going to work out well for you.
May you please tell us about case specialization, like not just types of immigration cases we handle right now, but something more specific. And the main point is, how has it changed since Trump came in the White House?
Since we started, our main focus has been on family-based immigration and asylum. These are the two things that the firm has been strong in, and we've done thousands of family-based cases over the years, and we've been doing asylum cases, quite a few over the past several years in particular. And that started during the first Trump administration, doing more of these asylum cases. During the Biden administration, there was a ton of asylum cases because the border was effectively open, so people had more opportunities to come into the United States to pursue asylum. And now with the Trump administration, the asylum process has changed quite a bit in that, yeah, the process is still the same, but the urgency has changed and the difficulty has changed. So now people that weren't pursuing their case actively are now pursuing their case actively, and the judges have really become a lot more strict on how they're processing the information that comes into the courtroom, and Homeland Security has been more strict, so that now even when you're winning a case, oftentimes they're challenging it and then you have to go to the appeals court.
But let's discuss the other part of the, let's say, situation. Let's talk about attorneys. Let's talk about attorneys' inspiration. Is it scary to be an immigration attorney right now?
It's certainly more difficult. So having been through several of these administrations, my challenge with all of our attorneys at Modern Law Group, of which there's several, is to encourage the younger attorneys to understand that this is part of the cycle of the way things go in immigration, and that our journey forward is going to be more difficult than it was. So during the Biden administration, it's never easy to win in an asylum, but we won at a very high rate. In fact, there was a period of time where we didn't lose a case for something like 18 months. It was a long time. And during the Trump administration, it's much more difficult to win. The judges are more demanding. Homeland Security wants more. They're not as agreeable as they were before. And that's really become a challenge. And so it becomes disheartening sometimes for attorneys to get used to it, especially ones that weren't practicing in the last Trump administration. But people are adapting now, and we just have to be a little bit stronger and a little bit harder and push a little bit more when we go into the courtroom.
A lot of potential clients who are calling us, they think that a lot of new policy memorandums and laws and executive orders they look like a punishment. Is Trump trying to punish people who are coming to our country or already here? Or it's a, let's say, misunderstanding of the process or like of immigration laws?
The problem is that the waters have been muddied, is the way we like to say it. And so over these past several years, not exclusively these last few years, but in particular these last few years, so many people have come in without really a strong legal pathway forward, right? So we've let in a lot of economic migrants and things like that that don't have asylum claims. And what happens is that has clogged the immigration system so much that there's a huge portion of people that don't have a path forward in the United States, and it clouds the people that do have a path forward in the United States, because in some ways they all get grouped together. It's like we let in 15 million people, let's say, over the last 5 years. Okay, well, maybe 5 million have good cases that are going to ultimately be successful with asylum. Okay, 10 million don't. Right? So how do you get rid of those 10 million and not affect the 5 million? That's the real balance that I think the Trump administration is challenged with right now, is to get out the people that don't belong and keep the people that do. And so they're going to try a bunch of different ways to do that. We'll see which ones are successful. And, you know, from my standpoint as an advocate for immigrants that are pursuing legal pathways, obviously I want to see the people that have claims have a chance to pursue those claims and ultimately be successful if they have that opportunity to do so. They're going to be looking for technicalities. So people that don't typically have solid claims don't do complete filings when they go into court. They do just the basics so they can get the work permit and push off the case as long as possible for years because they know that they don't have a case. So now our strategy, because judges see this, is that they have the opportunity now to cancel your case in court if you don't have complete filings. So rather than stagger this out over years, which we have done historically, which is smart because things change on the ground, and so you don't want to create a huge argument why things are bad now and then have them change 2 years later or be different. But we have to do all of that now. So at the very beginning, the judge has a complete filing to make a decision on so they know that we're serious.
The new administration not just creating, let's say, a lot of policy memorandums or getting back some old policy memorandums, but they also adding a new technology like AA something. Do you know something about it?
AI is interesting because it's changing the world on so many fronts, and we're just seeing the beginning of it. It's very interesting now. It's going to have a profound impact on all of our lives, just like the internet, like smartphones and other things like that. And so it's an interesting time. It could be used for good, and of course it could be used for things that aren't so good. From the government standpoint, they're already using AI and other technologies to identify people that may not be in the country legally. And so just recently they've announced that through the Social Security Administration, they're able to identify people that have obtained Social Security numbers either unlawfully or that don't have an existing status that warrants having a Social Security number. And so that's helped them identify people that may be available for removal. AI at the same time is a really great research tool. Within the firm, we're able to give it complex questions and sometimes get answers that are relatively on point for some of the questions that we have that are unique or to cite case law. It's not perfect by any means. We're not in a position yet at this point in time where you could say, hey, give me a declaration based on this and that, and and these are the facts, and we want to make this sort of argument. It doesn't do that yet. It hasn't replaced an attorney yet, but you can feed it, for example, something, let's say a client has written that's not written so particularly well, and it can improve the grammar and the syntax and things like that, but that's about it for now.
Okay, let's discuss the pro bono. And I know that our company is very famous about pro bono work. It's not a secret that we have done a lot of things for people. Like, maybe please.
My thoughts from the beginning with regards to the firm is that we need to help the community and the general public, okay? Taking one individual case that's pro bono, for example, is nice for those individuals that you're helping, but providing information to the public that doesn't have full information on a particular topic is where we really see some value. So, for example, our Spanish-speaking department has been doing outreach at churches and other community events pretty regularly for the past months to help educate people about the changes that we're seeing with the new administration. And that gets that information out to a lot of people that were there at the event that day, of course. But we're also recording these and then we're putting them out on the internet on our different channels, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, and sharing that information with the public so that they can understand how changes in the law may affect them and what their best path forward is to do lawful immigration. We do that. You do that quite a bit with the Russian-speaking community.
Yes.
Your general role in the company is to provide information to the public, right, so that they're educated. And, certainly that serves two objectives. I mean, obviously, when you put information out there and people know that you're associated with Modern Law Group, oftentimes people ask us for some help. And whether that's paid help or just kind of pointing them in the right direction, we're happy to do so. But more importantly, some of your streams are getting tens of thousands of views, even live, and then even more so afterwards. And some of your small videos I've noticed on TikTok are getting millions of views, which is amazing. And if that just affects a few people each time and gives them better information about how to move forward, then I feel that's a really great service that we're providing to the public, and I'm happy to do it. And I think it's our responsibility to do that. You couldn't go to the court and ask them to close the case, independent of what Homeland Security wanted. So let's say, for example, a client's been in the court system for many years. They came in the country legally. They're pursuing a process that ultimately landed them in court. But during that time they were in court, they found a way to become legal. Let's say perhaps they married an American citizen and they had that path forward. So previously you could go to the judge and say, hey, judge, we have a path forward of USCIS. Could we cancel the case and let that finish? And if for some reason we're not successful here, send it back to court. But if we are successful, then it's done. It's better for the court. It's better for us. It's better for the America, right? So the judge would have that leniency to be able to close the case. Now, when Biden took office, one of the first things that they did was lift that restriction, right? So they issued new guidance that said, no, judges can now terminate cases on their own free will, and so that this process could go forward. Now, I've been surprised, actually, these last few months or so that it hasn't happened yet. And I understand that reasoning to a standpoint, but we are faced with millions and millions of cases of backlog right now. Some are very easy terminations. In my experience, judges have never really exceeded their authority to terminate cases. In fact, most judges are quite strict, and they want to see the case go all the way through, or at least have both parties agree that it should be terminated. So I'm not 100% a fan of this. I think that it could be narrowed to where it's like, you can't administratively close for certain reasons, but for others you can. This is how it's affecting us right now. And so we'll see how it plays forward, but hopefully Homeland Security will be agreeable in those cases where there is other relief, for example, through USCIS, to terminate the case. And then by agreement, that should be able to go forward. We'll see. The questions that we get asked quite a bit, and I know you get it a lot from response from the YouTube channel, is what's the future look like in immigration? And that's a hard one to predict, but on staff we have several attorneys and 20 or 25 paralegals. So there's 30 plus of us that are keeping up with the law on a daily basis. And even that's a challenge for all 30 of us to do. I know because you spend a lot of time reading memorandums every day as they come out. And one of the great things that you do, Marina, with especially the Russian-speaking community, is to share that information as it comes out. And so we're trying to share that on a daily basis, whether it's on our Russian-speaking channel, our Spanish-speaking channel, Vietnamese-speaking channel, or our English-speaking channel. We're doing our best to get that information out to the public so that they know the changes that are going to affect their cases potentially going forward and how to navigate it. Not only does it give you some certainty as to how things are playing out now, it gives you peace of mind, because going through the immigration process is extremely stressful. Anybody that's watching this video that has a pending case right now, how difficult it is. It's a burden every day. You wake up overjoyed to be alive for another day, and then you remember, my future is uncertain. Sharing the information that we get on right now a daily basis, really, from changes, is an attempt to make the public more educated, but to give you hope and some certainty in your future, that you know what's going on, that any changes that come about you can react to appropriately, that there are resources available to you if you need them. Not only our firm, which we've been doing this for a long time, and obviously I'm pretty biased, I think we're great, but there's other great firms out there too with great lawyers that know what they're doing. And lots of times when you have a challenge come up, it's best to speak with professionals. Sometimes it's enough to get the information from a reliable source, and we try to be that reliable source for you. And certainly there are others as well, but a reliable source will give you something, Sometimes you want to talk to a professional to ensure that you are making the best choices for your future or the future of your family. It's like anything in life. Immigration is no different than talking to somebody about taxes, about your career, whatever it's going to be, whatever big decision you're making in your life. And immigration is obviously a major decision. You want to make sure you're doing it right. You don't want to look back and say, oh, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
So may you please share your opinion about improving the system, the entire system? What do you think we have to do to make it better?
So I have a strong opinion on that. In fact, I wrote a book about how to improve it, right? I published a book last summer called Securing America's Future, a guide to 21st century immigration reform. And it's pretty simple, the book, and what it lays out. I mean, it's obviously a very complex topic in general, but what we need to do is we need to be two things to the world as the United States. We need to be a symbol of hope, and we have to be a symbol of opportunity. When it comes to hope is what we deal with a lot now in our day-to-day here at the law firm, which is asylum. So if you're one of the weakest of the world, if you're in a situation where your religion or how you live your life or the way you look is going to get you persecuted or perhaps killed in your country, we want to be that shining beacon of hope that says, if I can make it to America, I'll be safe. I can live my life in freedom. And we need to be able to provide that, but we can't do it the way that we've been doing it. And that means, having an open border where we just let everybody in and we deal with the problem later. We can't do that because people will abuse that system, as they clearly have now. And so my proposal in that is what we would call a 21st century Ellis Island. And for those that aren't familiar with history, Ellis Island is a small island right by the Statue of Liberty, where immigrants, when they came into the New York harbor, would first be processed. So before they got to go into the city, before they started in America, they went to this island called Ellis Island, and they were critiqued, and they were asked questions, and they were vetted before they were allowed to come to the United States. And this was a very important part of the early immigration of this country. We could do the same thing today, and we could use technology and other things to be able to make this possible. So, for example, if you came to the southern border and you were seeking asylum, you should have an opportunity right there at the border to go through a process that would vet you and at least make a decision as to whether you would be likely to succeed or not in your asylum case. That means that you would have an interview right away. If you were unsuccessful in that interview, you would have a review, perhaps by an immigration judge, that would give you a second chance, just in case something was missed. If at one of those two times, those people determine that you have a strong case, that you are likely to succeed, then you could be let into America and you could let the final process go through the courts. But at least then we know it's like 90+% chance that person is going to actually have a legal process in America. If you're not successful, then you are then turned around and you are removed, right? So you're given a fair chance. If you don't succeed, then that's it. You're not in America for 5 years. You're not clogging up the court system for the people that are pursuing legal pathways. And this is how I feel that you can reform the immigration system with regards to asylum and hope and still maintain our core values as Americans. The second part I think that we need to improve in this country is that of opportunity. And opportunity comes in the form of bringing a merit-based immigration system to the United States. And that's something that we generally don't have here. For people that are already wealthy, there are investments that you can make into the United States that would give you a pathway in, depending on what country you're from. For people that are the highest of highest talents, whether it's in sports, you're an Olympic athlete, or you're the top level business person, or top level artist, or whatever, we're talking the 1% of the 1%, there's a path for you now. But there's not a path for the 1 or 2% of the best, or even the top 5%, right? And so the example I like to give is, let's say you're a family in Britain, right? You and your wife have great jobs, you have children, and you just don't like the way things are going in Britain. You want to come to America, you want to bring your talents, your career, your children, and raise them in the United States because you believe in American values. That opportunity is just really not there, and it should be, you know? We have a lottery system that's bringing in random people from around the world, from generally the most impoverished countries in the world, but our friends in Western Europe and in other countries throughout the world don't have that opportunity to come here. And so there needs to be a system that gives a point system. Now, Canada does something like this. New Zealand does something like this. It's like, what's your education level? Do you have a job? Do you speak English? You know, what are your contributions that you could have? Do you have money in your savings account to where you could buy a home? and they analyze all these factors and they give you a score at the end. And if your score is high enough, you get a chance to come in. And this is a system that's sorely lacking in the United States that I'd love to see implemented, because we should be that opportunity, that shining light in the world for those that say, I want to make my way in America, and that's where I need to be. Yeah, the main message that I would have for anybody that asks is that immigration's not going away. If you're a little bit scared right now, that's because the administration is being successful in their campaign. Dissuade people from coming that shouldn't be coming, and to encourage people to leave that should be leaving. This is what they're trying to do. No matter what they do from an enforcement standpoint, psychological enforcement is going to be the most effective by convincing people to go that should. All right? So if you have a path forward that's a legal path, don't be scared. Stay on that path. Make sure you're doing it right. Make sure you're getting the help that you need so that you can be successful, whether it's asylum or family-based or business-related. If you have a legal process, you have absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Nothing to be afraid of. And you should continue to walk that path. Certainly we could help you walk that path. Others can too. Be very selective in who you ask for help. There's a lot of folks out there that aren't as qualified to give assistance in these types of processes. So choose wisely, choose your information sources wisely. Try not to be scared if you are doing something correct. There's nothing to be afraid of. They say this too shall pass. It will. Immigration goes like this in cycles. I've been in it for 20 years. There's no consistency in this. But the one thing that I have noticed over a period of time is if you have a legal pathway and you do it right, it doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter what the news says or anything like that. You are likely to be successful if you do it correctly. So if you need a little help, reach out. Otherwise, we wish you all the best in your immigration journey.